The Woman.
Hello and welcome to The Woman. I hope you're all doing well this Tuesday evening. Today we have a very inspirational show for you. Our guest today is a woman that, my goodness, I mean, all of us as women have been through one thing or the other, and even our men too. But this woman seems to have not only overcome, but she has triumphed, and she is certainly using all of those experiences to live life again abundantly, and it's absolutely amazing. I can't wait for you to hear her. But before I go any further, as usual, I am not here alone. I'm here with my usual two co-pilots, and we start off, of course, with the beautiful
Paula. Hello. And welcome to the show today.
And of course, not forgetting the gorgeous.
Hey, Kanem, it's always good to be here with you.
So ladies, how are we doing? How was the weekend?
It's been a fantastic weekend. It's a time to recharge, and you know, as you've just said, we have a wonderful guest coming on, and it's always important for us ladies to take that time out for ourselves and to take care of ourselves.
Yes, indeed. In fact, it's been really interesting, actually, just looking over her book. And it makes you sort of reflect on your own life and the things that you've been going through. And, you know, when you start to list them, you find that you have similarities in your life with herself. I mean, in the sense that you may not have gone through exactly what she's gone through, but you know, there's a way in which we sometimes want to think that our pain is more, and then you suddenly hear what somebody else is going through. You think, hey, you know what? I'll keep what I have. I'll keep it. You know, 10 times over.
And it's subjective, isn't it? When you're going through that moment, you feel like this is
the end of the world.
End of the world. I mean, even my daughter, who's 14, says to me, "Mum, you've got no idea what I'm going through."
Years old. But then again, you know, 14, I remember being 14 and thinking, you know, in fact, at one time I was thinking, is that really my mother? You know? What she was putting me through, but then I'm thankful. I'm absolutely grateful.
We do, don't we? We always think that, you know, my situation is so bad. Nothing tops this. And I've certainly heard some stories, and you know, I remember one particular situation. I was there, you know, talking about, you know, some
having these defined moments. They keep coming I think my daughter most of all, because, you know, her life was 21 years nearly, and so to mother a child like that for so long. But I also think the most important thing is what you learn from the challenge.
During the process.
You see, because a lot of people, whether they're looking after their parent or spouse or child, the most important thing is to learn from it and see why it's in your life. And that brings me to the fact, you know, I just came back from France last night, and I really want to establish a retreat for carers. Because it's a very, very important role carers play.
I read a bit about your retreat actually, and I'm absolutely fascinated about it. I mean, myself as well, I'm a carer of a child with a disability, and have a lot of friends and networks as well of other parents. And I think it's one of those things that you can either cave in and you just can't cope, or you actually get stronger and it builds you up.
Yes.
I mean, you said that it, and certainly we can see from the evidence that it certainly made you stronger and made you the person that you are today. Did you have that support as you were going through it?
I did, and support is very, very important. And because you can't do it alone.
No.
And I know I used to run workshops for parents, and, you know, when I got them to chat to each other and so on and so forth, they felt so alone. They're such a lonely. If you don't have the support, you feel incredibly lonely. And indeed, even if you do, because it's something that, in a sense, it's a shock to you. That you've given birth to this child, and all of a sudden you've got this huge responsibility, and you don't know what to do with it. But the love, nothing beats love. I'm sure you know that. When you love your child, you love your husband, wife, whoever. Nothing beats that.
And that's the love that's coming from your child at the time.
Yes, and the love that both.
Both ways.
See,
It's because I think you weren't able to communicate in terms of she wasn't able to talk.
But she wasn't able to talk, but we always communicated because there are different ways of communicating.
Right.
Yeah?
And what are some of those ways that you communicated with her?
Like she knew some sign language. But we loved each other and we loved music. And if I said something, like usually people would ask her a question. And because she couldn't respond, she'd look at me and I'd respond. And if I got it right, she'd pull up my skirt or whatever. So that is communication.
So she understood,
And people do understand. You know, people think that because a child is disabled or a person is disabled in a wheelchair, that they don't hear you. You know, this is always working. This is actually the last thing to go before you die.
Exactly. So they don't communicate. And one of the exercises that when I was actually helping to look after a lady that had lupus, she actually said sit in the wheelchair. And move around with it, so that you could actually sense how difficult it was, and also how people suddenly attach you to the chair. And forget that you're actually living. Yes.
That's what they do. And that's why they need to be educated.
Those kind of classes were actually quite valuable because I know that certainly with my daughter, we had a lot of feeding problems. And, you know, the kind of the African way is you have to eat and you have to finish this food. So getting around that as well and getting my extended family to understand that. I remember going to a class and they said to me, well, you sit in the chair and we're going to try and force feed you something you don't like and see how it feels to you. And that kind of, you know, that's really what got me. And then I was able to affiliate with her and say, that must be how it feels.
Exactly. How old is your daughter?
Well, she's only 5 now, so we're still at the early years.
But then, you know, Deborah, how do you reach in? Because naturally there are people watching, and some, you know, may have friends like Ike mentioned, who are going through what they feel is the end of the world. Some may have just gotten this news of their child, or, you know, they've just come into, or their parents have stroke, or, you know, they're having to face a challenging situation of maybe a heart operation like you went through. What are some of those things that one should hold on to, or we can do to help through that situation, perhaps for a carer, or perhaps for the individual that's going through it?
I think first and foremost, when it's like if somebody dies, you have to grieve.
Yes.
And being told that there's something wrong with your child or your parent has had a stroke or whatever, it's like grief. Because some part of that person has died.
Yeah.
Yeah? And I think it's important to go through that. But I also think it's important not to stay there. And to learn as much as you can.
Yeah.
And also get involved in groups. I believe in getting involved with groups and immersing yourself. If it's a child, I was at the school just like I was for my son.
Okay.
And I was involved in just about everything.
Okay.
So it's once you're involved in it and you're watching the other kids, and I would go to the horse riding and all of that, and I was really very involved in her life and her activities.
Okay.
And my daughter never walked until she was over 7.
Wow.
Yeah. So all of that is so important. We must get involved, and I think by getting involved with other people and talking, one thing we do not do is talk, which is something I would like to talk about.
Well, we do talk, but we don't speak about the right things. We talk, but we don't talk about the inner things.
The things that are really important.
Yes.
And around disability, there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of blame. It is
I was going to
your
say
side.
Yes, especially with us.
It's your side of the family or whatever.
Yeah.
It's none of that. You've been given this fantastic gift. And I think that the more people like myself come out and say, yes, it was a gift.
Yes.
She was a gift.
And there was something that you said earlier on, and that is that all the things that happen to you in life is for a reason.
Absolutely.
Now, it's very easy to say that and then to ascribe a reason to it. What was your reasons? How did you discover it? Because some people say, well, I've never seen the reason for this happening to me. Why did my husband die? Why did this happen to me?
You see, the thing about it is because quite naturally people begin to apportion blame.
Yeah.
They blame something outside. They see it as something external. It is always out there. And then they suffer in silence. And silence doesn't help anybody. Silence has its place. Like if I was out in nature, I like to be in silence. And that's one of the things that helped me to heal. Being in nature. Because when you're out there, some things come through you. It's not about coming from there, although you learn from other people and all such like, but it still has to come through you.
Actually, that takes me into the question about your belief. Are you still a Buddhist?
No. I have Buddhist values because Buddhism, in a broader sense, is all about life. It's about life. Christianity is about life. Judaism is about life. So it's also about respecting other people's space. Respect is very important. But as far as going and being a part of an organization per se is concerned, no.
So it's this nature aspect and the healing process. Is that something you're also planning to bring into the retreat?
That's what the retreat is going to be about, simply because I believe in nature.
And how do you think that will help carers?
People will begin to, because I know from my own personal experience, first of all, in the retreat, as mothers and fathers communicate with each other, they'll see that they're not alone. That is the biggest thing. People think, I'm alone.
The retreat, are they able to bring the children, or it's just for them?
Because of
the carers.
The parent needs a break.
Okay.
And I'm going to insist on that. Maybe at one point as things develop, I might have
the children or the kids.
But the point is, a mother needs some time to herself. It's a 24/7 job, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, Deborah, let me come back a little. We've talked about the different situations we've mentioned, the different things that you've been through. The stroke and the heart operation, did these occur at the same time as when your daughter was still alive? So how did you cope with that? What happened?
It's funny,
at that point?
I told someone the other day, my mother was living in New York at the time, and we'd agreed that when I had the surgery, she would come over and she would take Tiffany off the bus and so on and so forth, because my son was and still is very independent, so he could handle himself. And my mother came. I came out of the hospital on a Thursday. I'd had my operation the previous Friday. And my mother went off somewhere and did not come back to get her granddaughter off the bus. Now, first, to begin with, I was a bit peeved. Yeah. But I got out of my door and I walked to the bus and I took my child off because in the end that was my responsibility.
Yes.
And I walked her very gently. And we lived on a semi-main road, so I stopped all the traffic because we were not in a hurry here. And I walked across, and from that moment on, I realized that, yes, my mother could have been doing this, but
Yes.
I'm here now. What's the point of me getting upset with her?
Yes.
I have to do it. That is the thing about having a child like that. You realize you just have to get on with it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You just have to get on with it. It's like sometimes she was incontinent, so I never stopped changing nappies until the day she died.
Wow.
But there were times I'd walk into her bedroom and you kind of knew whatever was happening was happening. But you just have to just do it.
Yes.
Just do it.
That's part of the love, isn't
It
it?
is part of the love, absolutely. It is the love.
And you mentioned your son as well, and you've
Yeah.
already said that he's able-bodied.
Yeah.
How did you balance that sibling link, and that obviously they have very different needs?
Yeah.
That can sometimes be quite a challenge, I think, as well.
Because kids like that, I'll give you an example here. After she died, because I've always wanted to move to France, and I thought, wow, maybe this is the time now for me to just pack up everything and leave. But then I realized that it would not have been fair on him.
No.
Because he had lived in her shadow for so many years
Yes.
that I had now to expand my life in a different way for him. No matter what he was going through, I knew I had to be there.
Yeah.
And that is one of the beauties, I feel, of parenthood. When we realize that you've got to do the job.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, looking at it, you've got one person that absolutely has to have your attention. And, of course, everybody around is going to suffer. Would you say that led to your divorce?
I would say, looking back on it, yes. Because after a
Is there
while,
anything you could have done otherwise in that situation?
you see, it depends on the child. You look back now, I've been divorced 12 or so years now, and, I look back and I say to myself someday, well, maybe, yes, I could have done that. Or maybe I could have made more time. And this is what I want to bring into the retreat for couples. Make some time for you.
Yeah.
And
To
that's when I
rebuild.
feel that's a good question. We could have done more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The alone time. But as a couple. Because I had alone time as me and my girlfriends, and I'd go off to wherever I felt like going off to. But together,
Yeah.
we didn't have that. And that kills it.
Yeah, there's something I'm wanting to ask here, because I know that you've moved into, and I'm sure even within the retreat you're going to use your life coach experience.
Yeah.
But because I've gone through and I've slightly compared your life with another lady called Ayanla. And she...
You're not the first.
It was only in the sense that she was, high on, doing great things with her work and her, and then she just fell to bankruptcy, losing her home, losing her child. It was like a disaster story written.
Yeah.
And then she has now bounced back. Now, you've gone through a similar situation where you've gone through so many things that we've mentioned already.
And I've gone through bankruptcy as well.
Fine.
And the loss
there you go.
Yeah. And all of that.
That you haven't.
I don't want to dig anymore. It's hard enough.
No. But it's true. I've been through the bankruptcy. But these things...
And you still look like this.
I do. But these things are so enriching. When I was in the midst of the bankruptcy, I couldn't see what the purpose of this was. Oh my God, who's going to pay my overdraft?
Yeah.
We go through that. And it's so important to go through that because it's how we react to stuff.
Yes.
But don't stay there. Don't call your girlfriend on the phone and gossip and say, poor me, why me? I think that is the biggest problem people have. It's the why me.
Yes. But what I'm wanting to find out is that going through these things almost seems as if they're an essential part of being a great coach.
Yes, because...
Life coach.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you didn't go through them, would you have been able to give as much as you do now?
Not as much as I do now.
Because you're able to empathise, I suppose, with other people that have their own life experiences and challenges, and just to show them, well, this is how I got through it, so you can get through it too. And I think that's...
And also I use my skills. I use disability. And there's one thing I believe people ought to consider. Doing voluntary work. Something for somebody else.
Yes. So you thought?
Or so I thought. But those were moments, and people go through those moments. And I can understand people. You see, all of my experience, I think, in the end, gave me the experience to empathize with other people. Anyway, what I did, I got up every day, or once a week, and I would go on to the hospital and do my voluntary work. And no one knew.
What you were going through?
No. Because it lifted me and I lifted them.
Wow.
And that's why I know voluntary work works.
It's almost a case of seeing somebody in a worse position than you.
Precisely.
Which is what we were talking about earlier on, when we were saying that, you know, you're complaining that you don't have any shoes until you see someone with no feet.
Yeah.
Precisely.
You know, and then it suddenly all fits together.
But Deborah, I can't help but wonder about this. Tell me, you know, you've got the child. Then you had, did the heart surgery come before the stroke or come after?
Before.
Before. Then you had the heart surgery.
Yeah.
Then there was the stroke.
Yeah.
Then there was the bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Then it just kept on happening.
It still is.
Things still continue. But you know, naturally, I would assume that now you're sort of like an expert, and you just think, oh,
resilient now.
Something will come, but you're not even aware of.
But at those times,
you have the tools now.
Yeah, at those times, you know, that they just kept on coming one after the other.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of people, we hear of people committing suicide, we hear of people, you know, they just give up the will to live.
Yourself in whatever position, then we can talk about it. People supporting you is absolutely, and positive people. A lot of people think they're supporting you, but they come around you with all the negativity. Get rid of those people. Really, because they're no good for your life.
Wow.
I mean, if people are coming around and saying, oh dear, poor you, look at the situation you're in, that's not uplifting.
No, it is not.
You need someone
I usually say, you know what? If you can't say anything good, say nothing.
And on that note, ladies, time will not permit us to go any further. I mean, we could speak to you forever. I said that if you didn't get enough of Deborah today, which I don't think you did, you can find her online. It's www.DeborahTrenchard.com. And
Deborah Trenchard Unlimited. I am unlimited now. Deborah Trenchard Unlimited.
You know, it's never ending with this lady. It's just going on.
Or message me on Facebook.
She's also on Facebook. So, and she has 3 books. There is Raising Tiffany, which was all about her disabled daughter, and that I believe will encourage you. There's Finding Me, of course, you know, finding herself through all of her experiences, which I'm sure that will also help. And then there is the, you know, my favorite title, Curiosity, that empowers you to hold on, let me get it right.
An effective way to empower patients.
Thank you. Curiosity, an effective way to empower patients.
We're all patients.
Okay. We are all patients, according to Deborah. We're all patients in the School of Education. But we do have to go. Ladies, so it's been a pleasure.
It has been. And thank you so much, Deborah.
Wonderful.
Inspiring us.
You're on my retreat, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
I think I'll come to it. You need to come back and report about it.
I will do.
Well, you've been watching The Woman. You can reach us on www.thewomantvshow.com. We're also on Facebook. And remember to mean it, be it, and live it as a woman, because it is not easy. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon. God bless.
Watching The Woman TV Show.